Hello and greetings to this presentation of UN Info, the UN System for Digitizing the UN Development Assistance Framework, or UNDAF, and its corresponding Joint Work Plan, or JWP. My name is Jesse Forsyth, and over the course of the next 15 minutes, I'm going to walk you through what UN Info is, its objectives, and some of its functions. Hopefully by the end, you'll have a better understanding of the overall purpose of why we've initiated this system to roll out to 130 country teams. So, what is UN Info? An online platform that basically holds the entire results chain of an UNDAF, the outcomes, the outcome indicators, as well as the work plan, the collective outputs, the output indicators, and the key activities. Now, all this information is incredibly important for a variety of reasons. We use it for reporting, we use it for monitoring, and of course we use it for future planning. But in the past, without a system like UNInfo, achieving those objectives, those three phases, has always been very difficult. We had problems with document control, sharing Excel files, sharing Word documents. We had issues with accountability, knowing who to go to and who will provide the information. And of course, transparency. Different systems, different portals, different data out there. With UNInfo, it's one place, one footprint that we can compile all this data into information for a variety of audiences. And you'll notice there on the screen that the audiences we've selected are both internal and external. And that is because UNInfo at its core is a coordination tool for the UN country team, as well as an accountability tool to ensure that the data is provided and that the UNDAF is being achieved, and a transparency tool for our public partners. Of course, why did we really engage in this process of creating UN Info? Well, one of the key features of the system is that it is showing a UNCT's contribution to the 2030 Agenda, or the SDGs. And we'll get into this a bit more later. But also, with a one single platform with all the data, it really encourages more frequent and regular monitoring of the UNDAF. The work plan is a key component of UNInfo, and when we have an up-to-date and full work plan in the system, we really give the UN country team the ability to see who they're working with which resources, where, and what partners in real time. And there's a wonderful opportunity with having this information at our fingertips, particularly when it comes to reporting. And UNInfo gives us the ability for much more dynamic, real better reporting. I don't necessarily mean just like end of the year reporting, like a one UN country results report. I'm talking about being able to export and extract key details that are within the work plan that you may not know are already there. So just being able to pull out an entire list of activities that are being implemented with one particular partner, and also showing all of that organized by contributions to gender equality. Think of the different ways that you can create a report, either for public consumption or internal meeting, just by pulling this information out like that. And of course, with 131 UN country teams, 131 UNDAFs out there, it gives us the real ability to start aggregating UN results. That's a lot of indicators that are a part of the UNDAFs. And now with them all in a central location, the ability to start to do real hard analysis on our contributions, the possibilities are really limitless. So what is in UNInfo right now? Well, over the course of an entire kind of UNDAF's life cycle, which begins at the common country analysis and ends at the evaluation, the middle three portions there are what are on UNInfo. The UNDAF itself, the 5-year framework, the joint work plan, whether that's the annual work plan or the multi-year work plan that which a UNCT compiles, and then the report section, which we have there as an example, the one UN country results report. So with all that data in the platform, you can actually generate that type of report almost instantaneously. So those three parts of the UNDAF are currently on UNInfo. And what does that mean? Well, the three phases of an UNDAF, the planning, the monitoring, and the reporting, by being basically up online, really gives us a new way of approaching. So not only being able to provide new cuts of data and overview so we can see kind of who we're working with, but also the ability to really monitor or keep up to date the work plan, and the details. So we'll have an accurate picture of things like financial expenditure. We'll have it drilled down country-specific activities down to the sub-region, like the actual regional location within your UNCT, and then tracking the SDGs. And of course, the ability to report, as I mentioned, exporting reports in a variety of ways to satisfy even requests that come last minute by, say, government partner. We can generate those types of reports that show an entire complete UN country team profile. Now, how do we get this data? Well, in each key activity, we have a list for the tags, markers, and the common budgetary framework. So every key activity will have these basically types of data codes. Many of these data codes we link to the International Aid Transparency Initiative. And we do this because data standardization is very important to us, as well as data harmonization amongst the UN SDG. If we are all using these same tags, markers, or data codes, we're able to compare within a UNCT, but also compare UNCTs. So again, if we have 131 UNDAFs in UNINFO, that gives us the ability to start comparing cross-border, regional, and ultimately global. A lot of data out there for us to analyze. Now, of course, what are tags and markers? Well, some of the examples right there are on the screen. Pretty simple designations and simple lists of things that you would think would be pretty common. So the key activity, we ask for, which agency or agencies are a part of this key activity. Who are the implementing partners? If it has, if it's contributing to human rights, what is its score? What type of modality is the intervention? So it's QCPR function. This is the basic type of information we're asking for, but having it all centralized in UNINFO gives us the ability to really start analyzing it and giving you, the country team, the ability to kind of get a sense of what you're doing, with who, and where. Now, SDGs, of course, are incredibly important in UNINFO, and every UNDAF out there already is linked at the outcome level to the SDGs. But in UNINFO, we go a step further. We go to that key activity and we say every key activity can be tagged up to 10 SDG targets. Now, why 10 SDG targets? Well, this falls in line with two different international standards that have been released, or policy standards. One is from OECD on SDG targets, and the other is from the UN Data Cube, which put together financial standards for Chief Executive Board reporting. So we're following in line with kind of global policy, and UNINFO is actually a real practical tool that can turn the policy into practice. So you'll be able to basically tag each key activity up to those 10 targets, and if we do, we can definitely divide the funding equally, and we can also link the target tagging to other codes or other tags and markers in the system. So we can start to link and build different pictures or slice our data in a variety of ways. Not only can we export those reports, we also have two types of dashboards which incorporate data visualization. We have the public and the private, and I'll take them both in turn here. In UNINFO, which you can access at uninfo.org, every country team can see their public dashboard. It comprises of different visualizations that track contributions to things like SDGs, financial flows, and so forth. Our key goal is to take that dashboard and link it automatically to the new UN country team websites. Every member of UNINFO is eligible to come onto the UNCT website project, and that website will pull data directly from UNINFO. On the other side, we have the private dashboard, which takes a look a bit more granular at information such as the financial, the resource mobilization, as well as the results framework, the indicators. This information we really believe is going to help decision makers. It's going to inform them of the real specifics of the UNCT's development activities and direction. And hopefully this is going to turn into better decision making, or just at least more informed decision making. These are, of course, just two examples of the visualizations. In addition to that, as I've referenced, you can pull data out of the system in these quick charts or standard reports by linking to any one of our tags, markers, or other values. So here on the screen, we have an agency's activities in a UNCT that also is tagged to the SDGs. So all this information is compiled and generated basically at the click of a mouse. And a user can export this as a PDF, a Word document, or even as an Excel file for further analysis. So all this data here available to the UNCT for a variety of reasons. Here's another example, another agency and another UNCT, but of course also to the SDG targets. Now, if you have experience in a UNCT, if you're coming from a UNCT, you may already know how difficult it is to acquire this data without a system like UNinfo. So this is what we really want to be able to reach in terms of the data quality for every single UNCT eventually. In addition to that, we are seeing UNinfo really drive better development results, particularly increased transparency, both internally and externally, and improved collaboration. We really want agencies in the UNCT to use UNinfo to identify gaps, identify overlaps, find ways where resources can be shared, and where that they can really improve efficiencies in the delivery of their activities. And that's just one of the many circles. I'm not going to go through all of them. And if you're coming from a UNCT that is not currently on board UNinfo, here's a basic list of our requirements. I want to pay particularly close attention to the second bullet point, and that's regarding the joint work plans. All the data that we really get out of UNinfo for the reports and the visualizations, for the future analysis, it really focuses on the JWP. If your UNCT currently works off of JWPs, that's great. We can put you in the onboarding pipeline. If your UNCT does not, that's okay, don't be alarmed. We've actually seen UNinfo be the catalyst for a UNCT to begin the process of creating a joint work plan. And if you have questions about that, you can reach out to me. So who is on UNinfo? Well, we have a pretty good pool so far of our UN country teams. Here's a brief list that is currently being added to as we go throughout the year. My goal for 2019 is to get to 60 UN country teams, and by possibly the end of next year, 2020, to have the full complement. And if you want to be a part of that list, feel free to send me an email right there on the screen. That's the presentation. Thank you very much for your time. My name's Jesse Forsyth. Have a great rest of your day.